Hey guys, today I'm going to be talking about the Monster Hunter Wilds beta, and what I really didn't like about the beta. It's really just one thing, it's just the graphics. And now, before the keyboard warriors out there start clacking away with their greasy fingers in the comments, I just want to say I know it's just a beta, okay, I know it's not necessarily reflective of the final game's graphical condition, or more so, instead of the graphics, I would say optimization. But I'm still going to talk about it because it was really disgusting. So for those of you who play on PC, this was actually, I was playing on PS5, okay, and what I'm going to say might be a little surprising to you. I don't know if you have, we console players don't have the quite the extent of control that you do over graphics. Really, all we get is two options. We get performance mode and fancy mode. Fancy mode is an increase of graphic fidelity at the cost of frames per second. So you increase the way that the game looks. It looks more pretty, you get more detail, but you lose frames per second, right? Makes sense. And then you get performance mode. You lose graphic fidelity, but you gain more FPS. So the game looks a bit more like bit more sloppy. It looks a bit more like slop. There's less detail. Things are less fine, and you gain frames per second. So I guess, you have a trade-off with both of them. But the thing is, I feel like it's a little unfair. Okay, I really do, because in the year of our Lord 2025, why do I have to pick between my game looking good but running like garbage, or looking bad and running good? I don't get it. And the thing is, I just wish there was a medium mode, right? Medium graphics and 60 FPS. That's really all I want. My game doesn't, it doesn't have to be super detailed. I don't need, to see the wrinkles on my Sekirat's nutsack when he runs and how they jiggle and the physics. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. It doesn't need to be super detailed. All I want is, something that looks pretty good. I can look at it, something that I can look at and just stop for a second and appreciate, right? And run that at 60 FPS. I feel like that's not a really big ask, you know what I mean? But, on PC you get more reign, you get more control over how your game looks. As long as you have a decent setup, I feel like. I'm not an expert in that, but that's just how I feel. And it might just be the nature of a console player where this thing is built very specifically to be run in a very specific way, and it doesn't necessarily have the flexibility that a computer has, which, fair enough, that's okay, but I still just wish there could be some sort of middle ground, and I don't know, I just wish there was more of a compromise, and you cannot tell me that performance mode is that compromise, because if performance mode is a compromise, then that is concerning, but I don't expect the full game to run the same way as the beta, obviously, but I still feel like I have, I still feel like I'm a bit cautious about it. The reason I'm cautious about it is because of the benchmark. Now, we've been seeing with this benchmark that it's come out on PC, that you don't have on console, by the way. That's not something you can do on console. The benchmark that you've been seeing on PC, that I've been seeing, and from what I understand, from my perspective, I could be completely, wrong about this, right? I don't know. I don't plan to play this on PC. But from what I've seen, people with high-end computers, with high-end parts, are not getting benchmark results that match up with the caliber of the parts that they have. Which is to say that if you have a high-end PC, you should be getting super, super high-end, you should be getting super high-end performance because you have paid a really large amount of money to have that high-end performance, right? But you're not getting that with this game for whatever reason. And people with mid-tier computers are not getting the performance that they feel like they should be getting with their parts. And then that kind of leaves people with low-tier computers to, is it even going to be playable for them? I don't know. I guess we'll see. And again, you should take the things that I say with a grain of salt, because maybe my anxiety is unfounded, which is completely realistic. That could completely be the case. But I don't know. I just feel like we've been here before with so many games. Like, I feel like I've lost faith pretty much in a lot of developers. There are very few where I'm like, I think I can count on one hand the maybe on one finger number of developers, or which developers I actually trust to like release a good game on release or on launch. You know what I mean? But I really want Monster Hunter Wilds to be really. I want it to be well optimized at launch. I want it to be fun, which it is. It is fun. Like, I will say, I probably will have released a video about this already. But like, the mechanics in the game are so good. But the thing is, like, you can have good quality games, but if your game is not optimized well, I'm not talking about the game looking good. I'm not just talking about that. I'm talking about optimized, how the game runs on your system. If the game is not optimized well, if it's super choppy, it ruins the fluidity of the game. It impacts the experience of the player, right? So yeah, I don't know. I do have worries about that because we've seen so many times players get burned by developers because of carelessness and whatever. But I don't know. It just feels like nothing really will change easily in that regard, just because of the fact that like so many players will still buy those games regardless of whether or not they are worth buying at launch. Which, fair enough, it's your money, you can do what you want with it, but I just feel like if we want things to change, there has to be a certain point where we put our foot down and say, no, we're not buying this. And like, me personally, like, in my opinion, if at launch it is optimized like garbage for console or whatever, I'm probably not going to buy it at launch. I would probably wait till it's on sale or until some updates come out or something. But yeah, I mean, if someone can run this game flawlessly at launch and there's no problems, like, I would not fault them for buying it, especially because, like, why would you deprive yourself of that? If you can run it, fine. But for people like me, like, I feel like most of the target audience that they're going for will not have a computer that is super high end, like super expensive, with really high quality parts that are like the latest parts that you can get. Most of them will probably be mid to low tier computers that they're trying to run this game on. And if these people can't run this game in an enjoyable way, then you're kind of like screwing over the majority of your audience. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like in that regard, most people don't really vote with their wallets in a way that, in a way that represents the fact that they're being screwed over. It is kind of disappointing because if you don't vote with your wallet, unfortunately, money is really the only thing that matters. And you can talk a big game on the internet when you trash talk a company, but at the end of the day, if you're still gonna buy their game at launch, if it runs like garbage, then you're only part of the problem, I guess. You're only part of the problem if you're buying the game and you're suffering from the developers, what do you call it? From the developers' neglect to make a good game. So if you're suffering from the neglect of the developer and you still buy their game, then I think you're kind of stupid. But it is what it is. That kind of turned into like a ramble about video games in general. I don't want Monster Hunter Wilds to be bad. I don't necessarily think it's going to be bad. I just have like a weird feeling about it. I don't know. The game is really good. It's just the optimization, I hope, is good. But yeah, that's it.